This week we had to work on giving a reflection of effectiveness of unit plans, and we've been talking a lot about lesson planning and differentiation, high yield strategies, and backwards planning. So those are kind of the things that I'm going to be talking about today. Um, I've put together a little slideshow that I found most helpful to touch on the points that really I'm going to take away from this module. So effectiveness of unit planning. The first topic I'd like to talk about is backwards mapping, and the way that I perceive backwards mapping is that backwards mapping is forward thinking. It just takes the larger picture and then forces you to kind of think, well, how am I going to get the students from point A all the way to point Z and get them all with me on that same level? So with that, some of the key points that I've taken away from that is each unit is set with a desired outcome, and every assignment has a purpose, and every objective is written to fulfill the unit requirements. Every objective is specific and it's measurable and it's attainable, and it's it's really about the students getting to where they need to be and how we as teachers are going to get them there. So that's really for backwards mapping. I really took that um, to heart when I did my lesson planning. So next we have assessments, and contrary to popular belief, assessments are nothing to be afraid of. When I was younger, that was something that I kind of feared. You know, you fear your history test, you fear a math test, and actually kind of breaking that apart and letting students know, like, that's just to make sure that you are on the same page along with everyone else, or not even with everyone else, but where you need to be specifically, where you are in that objective, how close are you to completing that, how close are you to obtaining those different skill sets so that you can advance. And that's really what assessments are. And if we as teachers haven't successfully been giving our students um, formative assessments, then it's really not fair to us for us to expect that they are able to do the summative assessments, which are necessary for them to prove that they've kind of gone above and beyond where they should be in terms of the material that's being taught. Um, I really feel after this, taking those summative assessments and saying, okay, well, that's going to come at the end of the unit. However, we can practice for that doing the formative assessments, and that's actually a really good way for us to gauge where our students are in terms of their learning. So some of the key points that I've taken away from the assessments portion of the unit planning is identifying the difference between the formative and the summative assessments, using the assessments as a gauge, using the projects or informal dialogue as formative assessments, and making sure that the summative assessments are clear and concise, and all of the areas in the assessment have been clearly explained in detail. Lesson plans. Again, a major part of the unit plan is the lesson plans. Each lesson brings to it part of the overall unit, and it's kind of like fitting together a puzzle where you know, each piece is instrumental and you can't have a missing piece. So each lesson plan needs to have clear objectives that give to that bigger picture and speak to the big question or the big idea. Each lesson needs to have differentiating strategies as to how you're going to approach that lesson. And communication here is key because, you know, the teacher can get up and start explaining, but if you have a bunch of, 25 blank stares at you, you're really not communicating well with the classroom. So how do you change that? What do you do to change that? And in the lesson plan, we were given opportunities to reflect and ask questions and kind of give a feedback. And I feel like that's really important for the students to be able to give the teachers feedback as well. Again, we have to incorporate those assessments and make sure that we are all on the same page and that the students can understand what we're explaining, what we're introducing to them. And if they can explain it, then that speaks to them understanding it. And also we want to incorporate a sense of enjoyment and creativity into our lesson plans. It cannot be boring, because if it's boring, it's not engaging. So however we can change the students' mindset in approaching different subjects, that's what we have to do. And that's where that cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary strategies really come into play. And lastly, we have differentiation and high impact strategies. So from here, it's how to teach to differing groups of students, how to divide your time as a teacher. There's one of you and 25 of them. So how are you able to differentiate instruction when you have students that kind of need you in various ways? They're struggling in some ways. So how do you divide your time to do that? It was really interesting to see how to break down a lesson and still incorporate 25 different people. One of the examples that I've included here is a video that that shows a teacher who explains exactly what the class is going to be doing, reviewing previous concepts, and then introducing new vocabulary. And she does it so tactfully. I just wanted to show a quick clip from that. So we'll go ahead and take a second to do that.
And we're going to begin exploring multiple, and factors, right? We're going to explore these two this week because they're going to help us with long division. They're going to help us with long division, okay? So, today, the game plan, this is our plan for today. We're going to start out by refreshing our brains. What are multiples? What are multiples? Okay? Then, we're going to get into how to make time multiples. What are the different strategies that I can use to find multiples? We're going to do some practice. After we do some practice together, you're going to do a live test. A live test. And it'll have some numbers, okay? And you have to solve a puzzle using multiples, okay? And at the end, because of your homework, you're going to write your homework and
So again, I really like this video because she has outlined exactly what the students will be doing using visual cues around the room. She's outlined their entire lesson. She has a specific timeline that she's going to stick to, and within that, she's been able to incorporate things around the classroom and vocabulary around the classroom that is old and vocabulary that will be new. And then it's a refresher because this is already a concept that students have already learned, and they're going to be building on it. And it's very clear and it's very concise. And so that speaks to both the high impact strategies and the differentiation. So this is my time to say goodbye, and I hope that I'm able to use the effective unit plans that we have gone over in class in the future, in my future lesson planning. Thank you. Bye.